At 2:14 a.m., in the Black Sea, the crew of the Russian warship Admiral Essen felt secure. It's a $300 million fortress of steel, armed with caliber cruise missiles and layered with some of Russia's most advanced air defense systems. On their radar screens, they saw nothing but the predictable clutter of the sea. Waves, a few distant fishing boats, and a large, slow-moving patch of what the computer flagged as floating debris. A common sight. They ignored it. That was their fatal mistake. Because hidden within that debris was the staging ground for one of the most brilliant and devastatingly simple ambushes of the war. One question: how do you turn a patch of sea trash and a $450 hobbyist drone into a weapon that can cripple a state-of-the-art warship? Spoiler: you don't need a missile. You need a magic trick. Here's how it happened. The Black Sea is a strategic chessboard. For Russia, warships like the Admiral Essen are the Queen's powerful, long-range assets that project force and launch missiles at Ukrainian cities. Protecting these high-value assets is paramount. The ship's defense network is a formidable fortress. Long-range S-300 derivatives, Panzer systems for medium-range threats, and AK-630 Gatling guns that create a wall of steel for close-in defense. An open attack is suicide. But modern naval warfare is noisy. The sea is filled with clutter, shipping containers that have fallen off cargo ships, wreckage from previous engagements, natural debris. A warship's crew, constantly on alert for high-speed missiles or aircraft, learns to filter out this background noise. That habit, the act of ignoring the mundane, is the exact vulnerability Ukraine decided to exploit. The plan wasn't to overwhelm the fortress with force. It was to sneak a single tiny killer inside by making it look like harmless garbage. The mission used three cheap, ingenious building blocks. First, the floating debris. This was a collection of large, empty fuel barrels and camouflaged netting, lashed together and set adrift days earlier. On radar, it had the large, slow-moving signature of harmless flotsam. Second, the Stinger. A tiny, $450 FPV, first-person view, kamikaze drone, equipped with a small, shaped charge warhead. By itself, it's a nuisance. But aimed at the right spot, it's a surgical blade. Third, the Shepherd. A single, hidden Magura V5 unmanned boat, lurking silently within the floating debris, acting as a concealed command and control and launch platform for the Stinger drone. The doctrine was pure deception. Let the enemy see the big, slow, harmless debris on their radar for hours, even days. Let them get used to it. Let them ignore it. Draw their eyes to the horizon, waiting for a missile that will never come, while the real threat is already at their doorstep, hiding in plain sight. The choreography began at 2:13 a.m. The Shepherd, having received satellite intelligence on the Admiral Essen's patrol route, activated its systems. The warship was on a predictable course, set to pass within 2 kilometers of the floating debris field. On the bridge of the Admiral Essen, the officer on watch noted the debris on his screen. He'd seen it on the last 2 patrol sweeps. Just some junk, he likely thought. Maintain course. Hidden within that junk, the Ukrainian operator watched through the Shepherd's thermal camera as the $500 million warship sailed closer. The moment was perfect. He launched the Stinger. The tiny drone, weighing less than 5 pounds, lifted silently from its concealed platform. It didn't fly high. It skimmed the waves, just a few feet off the water, using the ship's own massive hull to mask its approach from the primary radar arrays. It was a mosquito flying in the shadow of an elephant. The crew of the Admiral Essen was still scanning the skies for high-altitude threats. No one was looking down. And this is when the final 10 seconds began. 10 seconds to impact. The Stinger drone, now inside the ship's final defensive perimeter, locks onto its target. Not the heavily armored hull, not the bridge. Its target, identified by AI-assisted image recognition, is a small, unarmored ventilation port for the ship's primary engine room. 7 seconds. The drone makes a final, sharp course correction, aligning itself perfectly. On the Ukrainian operator's screen, the ventilation grill fills the entire view. For seconds, the AK-630 CIWS, the ship's last line of defense, is still pointed out to sea, scanning for incoming missiles. It is completely blind to the tiny threat that is already inside its minimum engagement range. 1 second, the drone's camera feed shows the individual slats of the metal grill. Impact! The Stinger drone doesn't just explode. Its small, shape-charged warhead does exactly what it was designed for. It focuses its entire explosive force into a single jet of molten copper, traveling at hypersonic speed. This jet punches through the thin metal of the ventilation port like it's paper. It doesn't cause a massive explosion. It does something far more clever. The superheated jet of metal flies directly into the engine room and strikes the primary turbine's lubrication system. A high-pressure oil line is severed. In milliseconds, atomized, highly flammable lubricant is sprayed all over the scorching hot turbine. The result is a catastrophic engine fire. The physical damage from the drone itself was minimal. A small hole in a vent. But the operational cost was devastating. The fire crippled the ship's main propulsion. Without its engines, the $300 million warship was dead in the water, a sitting duck. The crew, now fighting a raging fire deep within the ship, was no longer a threat to Ukraine. They were just trying to save themselves from sinking. The total cost for Ukraine was a few fuel barrels and a $450 drone. The disruption was priceless. This operation is a masterclass in modern asymmetric warfare. It proves that the most powerful weapon is not always the most expensive one. Sometimes it's the one you never thought to look for, the one hiding in the trash, waiting for the perfect moment to strike.